Well, hey, Redeemer City Church. Last Tuesday, Amanda said, "Hey, Nate, you got to watch this video. There's something that happened in Minneapolis." And so I got around to it in the afternoon, and of course saw what unfolded with George Floyd, and I was just shocked, angered, grieved, like I know many of you were and are. And so I want to give a few thoughts on just how we respond in this time. So let me just share three things. Firstly, how do we respond theologically? We've been in the book of James, and last week we were in James chapter 2, in which we saw this royal law of love, to love our neighbor as ourselves, which means that we practice this through non-discriminatory love. And we live in a world of discrimination, and yet when we're citizens of this kingdom in which we pray things like, "Your kingdom come," it means we long for no discrimination. And even though we know that won't ultimately be fulfilled until Christ returns, in the meantime, this practicing of non-discriminatory love actually calls us out into the fray to advocate for those who are being discriminated against. Historically, one example of this is in 1933, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a German Lutheran pastor, in the midst of some laws that were being passed where the Jews were no longer able to work for the state government or for the church, said this: "The church has an unconditional obligation to the victims of any ordering of society, to aid the victims of state action, even if they do not belong to the Christian community." And by the way, those that Bonhoeffer was addressing, that was a radical, revolutionary thought. But he was right. This is what the royal law of love calls us to love those who are being discriminated against and to advocate for them. Let me share just briefly how I've responded personally. Middle of last week, I reached out to a pastor at a church that's predominantly black in town. I just said, "Hey, I feel quite inadequate. I'm not sure how to engage this issue as a leader of a primarily white congregation." And he just encouraged me to share this openly with you. He said, "A lot of people in your community are feeling powerless, inadequate, like you are, and it's just important for you to be vulnerable." And so there it is. Secondly, he said, it's important that you sit in the discomfort. Name it. Don't necessarily move to this quick action to sort of alleviate the discomfort, but to sit in it. This is a systemic issue. This is not going to be solved overnight, and it's important that we sit in it. So lastly, let me just share how we respond as a church. Listen, Redeemer City Church, our vision, our mission is to renew our city through the gospel, and we desire to be an ally of this diverse community, a diverse community that is experiencing deep grief and anger. And to be an ally is to be a community that is compassionate, and not just compassion that's marked by emotion, but also one that's marked by wise action. So let me give you three things that we can do now as we think about what that means for us as a community. And to begin with, let me say all of us in this moment are beginning at different points. Some of us, if we're honest, we haven't thought a lot about this issue because it hasn't affected us personally a lot. Others of us, we've been out on the front lines advocating for this for years, I suppose. And so, but let me say this, we're all in this process, and we all have room to grow. So let me give you a few things. Firstly, let me encourage you this week to have a conversation with at least one person in your city group, or maybe a close friend, about this issue. Just share how you're doing with it. Where are you at? Honestly. The truth is, if we're going to grow in becoming the people who God's called us to be, we just have to have conversations about it. We have to talk about where we are and hear where other people are and grow in this and conversing about it. So let me encourage you to that. Secondly, I'm going to post an article on Slack. It was written by Kyle Korver. He's a white NBA player, and he's just writing about his experience in the NBA, and just has really some helpful thoughts about how to respond to the realities of just systemic injustice in our day. And then thirdly, to pray. Pray for Jesus' kingdom to come. Pray for wisdom for our leaders in our city and our country to handle this with humility and courage and strength, and that ultimately increasingly fair and just treatment would be given to our Black brothers and sisters. Well, hey, thanks for taking a few moments out of your day. Love you all, continue to miss you all. Yeah, grateful to be a part of this community. All right, God bless.